When it comes to motorcycles, the Italians sure know a thing or two about design and engineering. Now, Italian motorcycles are some of the best looking machines in the world, and they are also a lot of fun to ride. And when you talk about Italian manufacturers, some of the first names that come to mind are Ducati, Aprilia, MV Agusta. But Italy is also home to a lot of smaller manufacturers who make smaller capacity motorcycles in smaller numbers. One such manufacturer is FB Mondial. Now, FB Mondial used to exist several decades ago, had a big name in motorsport, but like several other smaller Italian manufacturers, they ran into trouble, had to shut shop and got resurrected only recently. And one of the bikes they manufacture currently is the HPS300. Now, the HPS300 is an interesting motorcycle because it is a retro-styled quarter-liter cafe racer. And this bike has been launched in India. It comes in via the CKD route courtesy Motoroyale and is on sale currently. So, let's take it for a ride.
To categorize it broadly, you could simply call the HPS300 a retro classic, but while the tiny dimensions, mirrors mounted at the handlebar ends and crouched down riding positions suggest cafe racer, the side-mounted exhaust, dual sport tires and wire spoke wheels remind of scramblers. It's a bit of a mix of both, and FB Mondial likes to call it a hipster, and hence the HPS in the name. The HPS300 looks very appealing, particularly thanks to details like the gloss black finish on the forks and short chrome mudguard up front, as also the heat covers on the exhaust, copper finish on the rear shock canisters, short tail and distinct looking number plate holder at the rear. The contrasting green stitching and HPS name embroidered onto the seat are also some cues about the manufacturer's attention to detail. I also like the design and detailing on the fuel tank. The single pod instrument cluster is an all-digital affair and looks exactly like the one we've seen on the Ducati Scrambler, but it does not feel very premium. The HPS300 in fact looks and feels more like a garage-built motorcycle rather than one made in a factory. This adds to its distinctiveness, but I wish fit finish levels and quality of plastics were better. That said, I have to mention that the HPS300 looks unlike any other motorcycle in India, and there was barely anyone on the road who did not give it a second glance or admire the bike's design.
Now, for a motorcycle that looks so good and is positioned as a cafe racer, you would expect the HPS300 to have a firecracker of an engine, but the powertrain is disappointing because this motorcycle is powered by a 250cc liquid-cooled single-cylinder engine that makes about 22.8 PS of power. And that is disappointing for a quarter-litre machine in today's day and age, because I would expect a bike like this to have at least 30 PS of power.
The exhaust note is not very impressive either, and I would have liked a more distinctive sound in keeping with the bike's design. And given its power and torque outputs, the bike feels underpowered on the road and acceleration is not too impressive. The HPS300 clocked a 0 to 100 kmph time of over 12 seconds in our acceleration test, which is slow. To add to it, most of the power is concentrated towards the top of the rev range, so there's very little shove at low revs. The peaky power delivery also means you are left wanting for more grunt in the city and need to keep working the gearbox to find that punch. But with less than 25 PS on offer, there is not a lot of punch even at the top, and the HPS300 runs out of steam rather quickly. One thing I liked about the powertrain though is the lightness of the clutch lever and the slick shift from the 6-speed gearbox. Fueling could have been smoother though, especially at low revs, and vibration damping could have been better too, as the engine sends out vibration through the foot pegs and seat as you close in on the red line.
But the HPS300 does impress in the ride and handling department. It uses a double down tube frame along with 41mm upside down forks at the front and gas charge shocks at the rear, and these together offer a brilliant mix between ride and handling.
The one thing Italian bike makers always seem to get right is handling, and the HPS300 is yet another example. It feels nimble when it comes to making quick directional changes in traffic and is also quick to turn into corners. The HPS300 comes shod with dual sport tires from a brand called CTS, which is unheard of in India, but grip levels are good even when leaned over into corners. The 18-inch front and 17-inch rear wheel combination works well, while the suspension feels firm enough to offer a confident feel. But given its lackluster engine performance, the HPS300 feels a little over-engineered, and a more powerful engine should help in exploring the bike's handling abilities better. The HPS300 also boasts an impressive ride quality. You might want to assume that its sporty handling compromises ride quality, but the upside-down forks and gas-charged rear shock absorbers soak up bumps and potholes well, thereby making for comfortable rides. The ergonomics are better suited to shorter rides only though, as the forward crouching stance takes a toll on your wrists after longer rides, and the foot pegs are a little too rear set as well. And while they look good, the side-mounted exhausts come in the way when placing your right foot on the foot peg, which also adds to discomfort after a while.
The HPS300 feels Italian in a lot of ways. It looks smashing to begin with for effectively what is a quarter-litre motorcycle. In fact, it looks so good, I've had people stop, take notice, give it a second glance, and even assume that this is a higher capacity machine. The ride and handling is good, though the powertrain is a bit of a letdown. In fact, had its engine made about 6 to 8 PS more power, this would have been a lot more wholesome as a package. But the biggest spanner in the works for the HPS300 is its pricing of rupees 3.37 lakh rupees ex-showroom, which is exorbitant for a quarter-litre motorcycle. In fact, you can get a lot more motorcycle in India today for that kind of money. But to its credit, the HPS300 does come with an air of exclusivity. Well, if it weren't for the exorbitant pricing or the underpowered engine, the HPS300 is certainly a motorcycle to have in your garage.